Welcome to PLZ Soccer, a quick look at the morning headlines and the emerging stories today. You can interact with us on this programme and of course on the evening 4:30 show as well. Great to have your company. As far as the back pages of the Scottish papers and the tabloids, the Sun has grandstand finish. Ross rescues Rangers bid up at Aberdeen and dedicates the goal to his gran, who is poorly. Ross McCrory, that is. It was Aberdeen 1, Rangers 1. And it really does set up a grandstand finish for the weekend in the SPFL. It would be great if it was all contesting the title. That's wrapped up by Celtic, but this is for second, third and fourth place. And I think it's advantage Hibs at the moment. If they can get the win tonight at Tynecastle on a pitch that is not the best, to be fair, then they really will be in the box seat destiny in their own hands, because they've got a chance to try and defeat Rangers at Easter Road on the weekend's games on the Sunday. And let's not forget, over and above that, that apart from anything else, Aberdeen have to go to Celtic Park. So, few twists and turns there. Would you bet against Celtic trying everything to beat Aberdeen if Hibs could beat Rangers and get second place? Who knows? It's just a suggestion. Thanks very much to everyone who's interacting with us on Facebook.com/PLZ Soccer and also on Twitter as well. I'll try and read out some of your messages as we go on. Hi to Lee Shanley, who's a big Hibs fan. Good to have you joining us, Lee. Down to the wire is also on the Sun's headline there, and this is, of course, at the bottom end. I think Hamilton Accies, even although they lost last night, I think Hamilton Accies are safe. It's now who's going to finish bottom. Will it be Ross County or will it be Partick Thistle? Both sides lost last night again, so they're in the bottom six, and I think at this moment it's going to be the final day sweat, as they've mentioned there. Of course, Stuart Kettlewell, the Ross County boss, far from happy. He thought they should have had a penalty last night, and he was angry, slamming the referee, Andrew Dallas. So that's the back page of the Sun. Inside, of course, there's more from Stuart Kettlewell and Alan Archibald on what they have to do on the final day of the season. This is where it really does become agonising for football fans. Inside the Sun is a piece there, of course. It's 10 years since Celtic, in fact 20 years, I beg your pardon, 1998, wow, 20 years, can you believe it? 1998, Darren Jackson's done a piece there, an exclusive in the Sun, talking about, it maybe wasn't the marquee signing that Celtic were hoping for, but in the end he was part of a side that actually went on to stop Rangers winning 10 in a row in 1998. So a good piece there with Darren Jackson. Robert Bruce says, my money's on Ross County to go down. I think Ross County will go down, Robert. I agree with you on that point. And I think Thistle could actually take anyone coming up from the Championship in that playoff and stay. And I certainly hope Thistle stay. I know that's not going to please too many fans of potential Livingston if they were the team to play in the final. So Chris says, is it true Hearts ground staff apparently cut the grass after Celtic's game on Sunday? Well, if they did, who cares really, Chris? I mean, it's up to Hearts what they do to try and win the game. It's not the first time I think clubs have actually brought the pitch in to try and make it smaller so that it suits a certain team's game rather than the opposition that are coming to your ground. It's not the first time we've had a situation where clubs have refused to water the pitch, or in some cases clubs water the pitch to make it super fast to suit their team. It's all about your team. You do what you want to try and beat the opposition. Celtic, whether it was long grass or short grass, were good enough to win against Hearts. I don't see what the problem is there. But if they did cut it with Hibs in mind, let them get on with it, Chris. That's what I say, because Hearts really need to try and win the game against Hibs tonight for the bragging rights and maybe save a little face from what has been a terrible season. And the reason I mention that is because Neil Lennon's mentioned, you know, that fantastic banner. I was at the game at Easter Road when the fans just unveiled this banner, Natural Order. It was a dig at Craig Levein. I thought it was a brilliant bit of humour by the Hibs fans, just to say the natural order in Edinburgh at the moment is what, 20 points the gap between Hearts and Hibs gunning for second place. I fancy Hibs to take Hearts tonight, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. If it's a football match, then Hibs will win. If Hearts come up with a plan that somehow derails them and they're able to physically put them off their game, then I think Hearts might have an outside chance in it. It is at home. Hearts should feel confident, but this Hibs side's got so much quality. I was speaking to a couple of Hibs players, and I think they're well up for this one. Anyway, as far as the record's concerned, Brendan Rodgers had a little pop back, and Dave King says, why don't you look after your own side instead of worrying about Celtic's business? This is, of course, first chance to speak to Brendan for the press after Dave King's comments that Celtic are going to fold like a pack of cards if Rangers can win one title. I think the real analysis of Rangers and Celtic will come in the summer when Steven Gerrard starts to spend what kind of budget. Nobody knows how much money he's going to get to spend. But one thing is for certain, Brendan Rodgers will have money to spend, and I think Steven Gerrard's arrival will prompt Celtic to spend money. So win is back our pride is the headline on the back of the Daily Record, and that's basically Jimmy Nicholl, who's a brilliant lad, one of the nicest people you could ever wish to meet, and a good coach as well, it has to be said, from his days at Raith Rovers as well. You only have to look back at that League Cup final win. Jimmy Nicholl's a top bloke, and he's hoping that the Rangers players can actually look after their own side and their own chance to finish second by defeating Hibs at Easter Road on Saturday. Always like to pick the Guardian. Beg your pardon. I'm sure I'll pick up some other English papers along the way and feature them as well. But right now, Southampton's win over Swansea, the battle at the bottom end now is just unbelievable. This is where fans really do start crying, and let me tell you, this is where chairmen start crying as well, because if you go down from the Premier League, it's goodbye to the riches. I mean, 100 million goes into your kitty right away. So Southampton's win last night was huge for them. Swansea's still in the mix. West Brom gone now. Stoke City gone. It's down to the wire to see who occupies that final spot. And also there's a disturbing story in there, which is basically former Chelsea players come forward to back racism claim. This is allegations of racism from the 1980s, when there were allegations of some players making it whites against blacks. And as an ambassador for Show Racism, the Red Card, it's an unsavoury story and something I think we all need to make a stand on continually in football. So that story in The Guardian, I think, will gather pace over the forthcoming weeks as the investigation into it continues, and we'll find out exactly what action, if any, is taken if there are indeed guilty parties. So that's a look at the back pages. Last night's games, of course, Aberdeen 1-1 with Rangers. Now it's down to Hibs. I fancy them to win that game against Hearts at Tynecastle. I fancy Celtic to get over the line against Kilmarnock. They'll have to keep the engine just ticking over enough so that they are in line for that cup final and ready for it as well. And who do you think comes up, Peter, from Championship playoffs? My tip is Aston Villa. Well, I'm with you on that, Chris, because my mate is the PR guy for Aston Villa, and I certainly hope him and Steve Bruce, who I think is a top bloke and a good manager, who was, I think, unfairly treated at a couple of clubs previously. I think Steve Bruce is a good manager. I hope Aston Villa come up from the Championship playoffs. Fingers crossed on that. So I'll be watching it very closely indeed. The next few days of football is going to be very interesting. We're going to talk about it all tonight, 4:30, PLZ Soccer. The soccer show's on 4:30 with Barry Ferguson and Alan Ruff alongside me. You can join me, give us your thoughts. Don't forget, you can download our PLZ app. You get into the Google Play and in the App Store, download it, press video recorder, record a message, tell us what you think of your favourite team or anything that's bothering you in football. If we use it, we'll send you out a prize for being on the show. It'll gather pace as the weeks and months start to develop with more and more soccer shows here, hopefully for your entertainment. That's a look at the back page headlines. Join me at 4:30 if you can. Thanks for watching.